I can't believe it. Again, I met a potential client here at the coffee shop, and they ended up going with someone else. Said they wanted to work with someone who looked more established.
Oh no, that's unfortunate, but honestly, why are you still meeting clients at coffee shops? You should check out J. Kenba Executive Suites.
Jay Kenba? Never heard of it.
Really? It's a professional office space right here in Baton Rouge. You can rent an office that's already furnished, plus they include Wi-Fi, secure building access, utilities, on-site parking, and they even handle the regular cleaning. All you have to do is show up and focus on your clients.
Wait, they handle the cleaning too? That sounds way easier than trying to make my home office look professional or hunting for a quiet spot at a coffee shop.
Exactly. And if you don't need a full-time office, they even rent out conference rooms for small meetings and workshops. Perfect for impressing clients without the overhead.
That's exactly what I need. Where do I find out more information?
Just visit jkenba.com and schedule a tour. Trust me, you'll wonder why you didn't do this sooner.
J. Kenba Executive Suites. We provide the professional space. You create the success. Visit jkenba.com today.
Welcome to the Bija Radio Show. I'm your host, Dr. Byron Jasper, and we are recording live with special production by Becknell Media. All right, people, you are in with Bija Radio. And if you're in with Bija Radio, that means that we are coming back for an amazing episode after our last amazing episode. I mean, rave reviews, if I do say so myself. And, you know, if I'm hearing that we are getting rave reviews, that means that we must be myself and the man, the myth, the legend, which I said last time, but don't do it justice when you say that. You have to actually, again, give the man some praise when he walks into a room, stand, kneel, bow, whatever you do. But you just go ahead and smile when the man walks into a room because he's the one and only Patient Zero. Patient Zero, how you doing today, brother?
Man, Doc, I'm fantastic, brother. Just always appreciate your glorious intros, you know. But I'm well, man. How are you?
Doing good, brother. It is a day of work, but I always say, look, hey, I'm blessed to have a job right now that is actually paying me. So I'm not going to complain one bit at all, considering some other things that we talked about on the last episode that's still ongoing as we record this episode. So I'm not going to complain at all. And I'm sure you're not going to considering that as well.
In fact, man, like a lot of people right now in this country are struggling, and I hate to get political, but elections do have consequences, and when you vote or don't vote, things happen, and what we're seeing right now in America is a direct result of it, and some people aren't as some people don't have the opportunities that they once had,
Absolutely.
which is very, very unfortunate. So
Yep.
I hate to see it, but just thankful that we're both working,
There you
we're
go.
both making income, and prayers up for everybody who isn't.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the other part is we're getting to do something we enjoy that also is helping people, which I know some other people have commented, and we've always sent messages back and forth when people reach out to us individually, whether it's on a social media platform or a text message or a phone call, or we'll send screenshots to each other, that these topics actually do resonate with people and they actually do listen and say, you all did a good job talking about this, or y'all did a good job talking about that. And I think this episode this week is going to be one of those episodes where people are going to say, I had no idea about some of the stuff you all are talking about, but I'm glad you did because now I have a better sense of what health practices I should or shouldn't be doing. So, Patient Zero, we have notes as usual because we always like coming in prepared. That's, what alpha men do. with that, we are talking today about gut health and problems related to the gastrointestinal tract, also known as the GI tract. And we're talking about basically how those problems that are very small in the beginning, if left unchecked, untapped, unresearched, undiagnosed, mistreated, or not treated at all, those things are going to potentially lead to other consequences. And hopefully connecting those dots so people will better understand why gut health is so important. So we have a lot of things to talk about today. The hope is that we'll be able to cover it in a way that's very much helpful. And one of the things we're going to start off is just talking about simple, basic concepts of how gastrointestinal problems that are unchecked can lead to bigger problems. So I got the notes over to you, and I said, hey, let's just talk about things from a very simple standpoint, setting up the scene of gastrointestinal problems and where they are, who has them, what type of demographic are affected by them, and doing that in a way where we're talking about statistics. So we're going to go over a few different topics. And Patient Zero, I'm going to set you up to just basically go ahead and give people an overview of GI problems in this country, and then we're going to narrow into specific problems. So I'll turn it over to you, my friend. Let's go ahead and just start giving people those statistics and reviewing those things one by one. So the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. So I appreciate the setup, the good brother. As somebody who has some digestive issues himself, especially all those years of living gluten free and not being able to handle certain types of foods with gluten in them. This is a topic that's very, very important to me, and and I'm happy that I had the resources and the support to go ahead and make this lifestyle change, because now I feel a whole lot better. And, not just my stomach feels better, but my energy levels feel better. My joints feel better. It's just one of those things to where you don't understand how many different things it affects. So
Correct.
I'm just happy that we're talking about this, and I'm gonna just go ahead and set the scene. Digestive disorders are among the most common health problems in the United States, right? Many people treat GI issues as an inconvenience, not realizing they could be warning signs of a deeper dysfunction in the body, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So over 70 million Americans experience chronic digestive diseases annually. 7 million.
I know.
70 million, excuse
I
me.
was going to say 7D,
Yeah,
7
70.
0.
I said 70 the first time. I don't know why I came back and said 7. It's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite numbers though. But you know, GI disorders account for over 100 million outpatient visits in a year, 60 million prescriptions, and nearly 250,000 deaths per year in the United States. So 250,000 deaths per year in the United States. That's a lot of people dying, over what you think might be bubble gut, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about financially, combined, these conditions cost over $140 billion annually. So,
Yep.
the daily reality, 1 in 4 adults have digestive symptoms at least once a week. 40% of adults report abdominal discomfort or bloating monthly. Nearly half of adults have experienced chronic constipation, reflux, gallbladder issues at some point. And when you talk about chronic constipation, that's not just not being able to go,
Mm-hmm.
that's also not being regular. Diarrhea is considered constipation. So it's a lot of things that could be pointing somewhere else.
Yep.
So
And let me clarify one thing you just said, because I think it was slightly misstated. Nearly half of adults over 50 have experienced chronic constipation, reflux, or gallbladder issues at some point. So, not necessarily all adults, right? 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe not. But once they get to 50 and they've now exceeded the age of 50 years old, that's more than likely when they'll start having those constipation issues, reflux issues, gallbladder issues. Not always. Some
it's
people get it earlier then, but those that are over 50 can probably attest to having one or more of those issues, right? So we'll jump into a few things that you highlighted, and then we'll go a little bit further. So Patient Zero, let's talk about those numbers, man. You said $140 billion annually. for the actual gastrointestinal disease category as a whole? Do you feel like that is a small number, not small number, reasonable number? What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's a huge number.
Correct. I would agree. And I think the other part for me is I was a little more surprised when I started looking into the stats because I thought it was going to be a large number, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be over 100 billion, right? I thought it would definitely be in the billions, right? 2, 3 billion maybe, but 140 billion. And I think it's because we're capturing all things, right? We're not just saying colon issue. We're not just saying pancreas issue. We're talking about liver, we're talking about the colon, we're talking about the stomach, we're talking about the spleen. So there's all these things that go into the abdominal area, which most people just say that's my stomach. For us in medicine, that's the abdomen. In the abdominal area, there are a lot of organs and things in that actual cavity that can cause problems, that can cause disorder. So when you lump all of them together, way more people are going to be affected than someone who is just talking about the heart and the heart alone, someone who's just talking about the kidneys and the kidneys alone. So I think that's a huge reason why things are more broadly encompassed within. But I also know that when we go into diseases a little more specific, one disease versus another, we'll probably have smaller numbers. So I thought that was
But
huge to understand. Go ahead.
I'll say this: I'm not as surprised, and the reason being that when we talk about heart disease, you're talking about high blood pressure. We've talked about this on the show before. That's kind of categorized as a silent killer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, other things, you kind of don't really have as obvious symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about gastro issues, those things are a lot more obvious, you know. So I don't know anybody who doesn't have some form of stomach medicine in their closet. Whether you got a bottle of Pepto, you got some Karopectate, Imodium. Everybody, I feel like everybody and their mama got something for acid in the medicine cabinet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think all these different things or all these over the counter things probably add to it, um, add to that dollar annually. So
Yeah.
when you talk about everything that people buy over the counter, going to the doctor, you have, one, 2 minute
Imaging.
drinks and then you kind of take something for nausea, things all of that nature. All that stuff kind of adds to it,
Yeah.
so I'm not as surprised.
Well, I also will say the other things are your labs, right? So labs are probably going to be a lot more difficult to pinpoint where's the problem when you're talking about abdominal
Mm,
issues. So you're going to order a lot more labs. And I also know when it comes to imaging, a lot, again, you're going to order more advanced imaging for the abdominal area, right? An x-ray
yeah,
only can show
because you're
you
not
so
even gonna have an
much.
X-ray, right?
Correct, right? An x-ray can only show you so much. And with that x-ray showing you the small amount of things in the abdomen, because there's not a lot of bones and things that are going to reflect or project, I should say, when it comes to an x-ray, you're going to end up needing a CT scan or an MRI, which is going to be more costly. And then, of course, procedures, right? Colonoscopies cost a lot of money. We already talked about that in a previous episode, so that's going to drive it as well. And then, of course, any other procedures in the abdomen are going to drive a lot of cost. So I'm not surprised about that either. But we'll go a little bit further, and I think this will help drive the point home. And we're going to go over a few diseases that we pulled to talk about numbers here. So we'll start with acid reflux, my friend. So once you cover acid reflux, I'll take the next one, and then we'll go back and forth on each one. So altogether, we have 5 we're going to cover. So we'll let you do acid reflux. I'll take number 2. So go ahead and give them some stats on acid reflux and what those things are.
Cool. So GERD, commonly known as acid reflux, what does that stand for? Esophageal reflux disease. Is that the word?
Close. You were
It,
almost on it. I was proud of you because I thought
esophageal.
exactly. I was going to say you almost stuck the landing, right? Like you were doing the rotation, and I was thinking you were going to stick it, and then you just clearly you faltered a little bit. But yes, gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Gastroesophageal. All right. Yes, I'm sorry. Central Catholic did not have a gymnastics program. And if they did, I wouldn't have competed anywhere. I wouldn't have participated. I was more of a football, basketball guy, but anyway. So I wouldn't go stick the landing.
So I
Um,
just want to make sure if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying you're not a leotard type of brother, is what I'm saying. That's not you.
nah, man. If you ever see me in a leotard for any type of reason, like just have me committed because like something's wrong. Like I'm not wearing it as a costume. I'm not wrestling nobody. I'm not gonna be on a balance beam on the uneven bars or anything like that. Not gonna be figure skating. Just just as a friend. There's nothing wrong with anybody who wears a leotard. Just know if I have it, I've just lost it because that's not me.
You just go ahead and call the people for you, right?
Just call the people, man. Just have somebody come get me because there's something wrong.
There you go. All right, so let's go back to GERD and acid reflux. So, what are your numbers that we're going to talk about? And again, it's not a lot, but just enough for people to get an
Sure.
understanding not only what it is, maybe, but also stats.
And how common, right?
Yep.
So 20 to 30% of American adults, actually deal with GERD symptoms on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's due to, that's rising due to obesity, number one, processed diets, and sedentary habits, right? Women report more reflux symptoms, but men experience more severe complications like Barrett's esophagus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about acid reflux, a lot of times people eat a lot of foods that are very acidic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And tomato is one of the biggest culprits. And
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't like some Italian, the tomato sauce, the pasta? Who doesn't like some pizza, things of that nature? That's all adding to GERD. So
Absolutely. So let
I
me
can see why it's so common.
Yep, and let me add a little bit more detail to it. So acid reflux is basically when acid from the stomach repeatedly backs up into the esophagus, hence the idea of reflux, right? It's refluxing into the esophagus, hence the gastro, stomach, esophageal, esophagus, reflux, refluxing into the actual esophagus from the stomach, disease, right? So GERD is pretty much easy to understand, is that the acid has, the stomach has acid inside at a baseline. If the stomach has acid inside of the baseline to help break down food, when the acid builds up and gets back into the esophagus, it's called reflux or acid reflux. Based on that, common symptoms, patient zero, I already know you know a few of them. What are your common symptoms of acid reflux if you had to go ahead and name a couple off the top of your head?
Heartburn
Mm-hmm.
is number one.
Yes.
Nausea would be another one.
Yep.
I don't know what it's called, but sometimes I can taste the acid in the back of my throat. I guess because that little receptor that's supposed to keep the acid down gets
Mm-hmm.
opened.
It's called a sphincter. Sphincter.
Sphincter. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So I know this.
There you
Got
go.
my medical degree from Southern University. I'm the
There
only
you
one.
There you go.
But
Class of one.
class of
You were
one.
top of
I'm
the
the only
class. I
one.
like it.
I'm the top and the
Yep.
bottom.
So heartburn is the main one, as you just said. Other thing, nausea. Some things that other people don't realize:
Mhm.
chronic cough, a person who just coughs all the time and have no idea why. It could be acid reflux. A sour taste in your mouth all the time also can be acid reflux. And then some people also have voice distortion or hoarseness. The other thing that's, I think, major to understand about acid reflux is that it can definitely be worse when you lay flat. So I've had people
Oh, a
come in that
1,000%.
says, hey man, I feel like my chest has this discomfort and it's worse when I lay down. Of course, one of the questions I'll ask is, are you having any issues with coughing at nighttime? And of course, they'll say yes. And I say, okay, well, what are you eating? Right. So we go into that discussion of the types of things they're eating, when they're eating, and then it kind of points to acid reflux more than likely. Other risk factors, as you mentioned, besides being overweight or obese, smoking can also impact acid reflux. You mentioned tomatoes, which is spot on because tomatoes are acidic. Things that are also acidic: mint, lemons, kiwis, and caffeine. Those are all things that could potentially worsen or
Mhm.
promote acid reflux. So if you're consuming those things in excess, that can easily cause problems with acid reflux. And
Pick
you're
your
spot
fruit.
on. And you're spot on, as you said, women tend to have it in a way where they're going to have more issues with it in terms of symptoms. So based off of that, we're going to have an issue where if women potentially are younger and pregnant, that also can make it worse, right? So
So,
these are all things that can happen. And lastly, the sphincter, just so you're aware, because there are a lot of sphincters in the body, it's the lower esophageal sphincter that starts the problem. And there's an upper esophageal sphincter as well. That's when it gets to the throat and the back of the mouth kind of thing. So the sphincter before the stomach, before the food enters the stomach, is the lower. There's one up higher in the esophagus. That's the upper. So if both aren't working and you're having reflux, you'll feel more symptoms. Go ahead, my friend.
question. So, I always am skeptical of this of stats where women are more susceptible to this because I just feel like women take care of themselves better
Mm-hmm.
and they go to the doctor more.
Mm-hmm.
So of course they're going to be diagnosed more
Mm-hmm.
because men in general don't take as good a care of themselves.
Correct.
So when it says women um, with lower physical activity levels are the most affected, is there something biological that affects women more than men in acid, or is it just one of those things where women probably are reporting more, so the stats are higher?
I think it's more of the reporting, right? So the information I pulled, it's definitely women report the symptoms more. It wasn't necessarily that women 100% have it more often. So it could be, as you said, they're going to the doctor more often. They're getting diagnosed more frequently with this compared to people on the other side that don't go at all. So I think that's what it is. I wouldn't hang the hat on that men have it less. I definitely wouldn't. I wouldn't be willing to
Yeah, I
place a bet
I
on
didn't
that.
think so either.
So all things considered, the take home I think for acid reflux is it's very common, as you already said. I believe you said 20 to 40% or 20 to 30% have a acid reflux issue or symptom on a daily basis. The issue that I think people will not realize, and hopefully when they listen to this, they will, is that untreated acid reflux doesn't just stay as acid reflux. It can eventually turn into irritation. Irritation then turns into inflammation, and then that ends up turning into something that could be a mutation. And the mutation, of course, means something like a cancer. So when you have acid reflux that just never gets treated, it doesn't just stay acid reflux. So a lot of times people just say, oh, no big deal. I'm going to just take my favorite, I'm going to take some Tums, and that's just going to fix it. They don't fix their diet. They don't get up and get active. They just assume because they're taking medicine, it's going to basically be okay. And that's not how this works. The goal is to fix the problem, not treat the symptom. So acid reflux is one of those things that gut health is not good. Acid reflux develops, it's going to be a problem. So that's a huge one that we see all the time. Very common, very, very normal for people to have and just don't deal with it. And as you already mentioned, patient zero, a lot of symptoms are very basic. So people don't think it's a big deal. Oh, I just got nausea, or I'm just having some heartburn. I'm not having really any major issues beyond that. No big deal. Oh, I do cough a little bit. It's not a big deal. I do got that funny taste in the back of my throat. I'm going to just drink some water. Eventually, it turns into a problem. And by the time we finally see and get them to the right place, it's something so bad that it's, hey, had we treated this 5, 6, 7 years ago, it would have been so much different. So that's one big one. I'm going to go to the second one. So, we've been going for almost 20 minutes, believe it or not, with the episode, and we got so much more to cover. So I'm gonna speed up a little bit. The next one we'll talk about is constipation. So patient zero, we already know you have a huge affinity for constipation. I'm pretty sure one of the favorite lines of plenty of people of the show know what you said. I won't throw it back to you yet, but I will say that constipation, according to the stats we pulled, affects 16% of adults overall, but 1/3 of people over the age of 60. So it goes from 16% to roughly 33% of people once they hit 60. Women and those with lower physical activity levels are more affected, and it's linked to low fiber intake, dehydration, and use of processed foods. And this is one of my favorite things to treat and diagnose when it comes to the simplicity. It doesn't take a lot of medicine. It doesn't take a lot of things to do. You just have to do very simple things. Drink more water, eat more fiber or high fiber foods, and then try to limit the bad foods. If you also add physical activity, usually constipation fixes itself. You don't usually need a bunch of laxatives and all this other stuff, but people tend to go straight to laxatives and not do all
Yeah.
the other stuff. And then we have more problems when it comes to excess laxative use, which is not a good thing, especially if it's the wrong kind. We won't spend time on that, but I think that's important. So I'm a pause for a second. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to tell me any thoughts about the constipation statistics that we have. And then, of course, I'll shine a little more light on a few other things that I didn't put in the overall show notes, but I wrote down for myself. So anything when it comes to these numbers that stand out to you or surprise you or don't surprise
Two things. I think 16% is low.
you.
You know what I'm saying? Because technically, like we talked about earlier, diarrhea, irregularity. So if
Hmm.
you're not going to the bathroom every day, that's technically constipation. So only 16% of adults have constipation issues
Hmm.
or have been affected by it. I don't buy it. I think people, and sometimes I can be people where we go for the laxative. And because like, me, I can't stand being constipated. Like I go get a bottle of magnesium citrate, chug it, and just keep it moving. Like I'm not gonna sit there and be miserable. I'm just not. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of other people, being that like you said, it's so easy to deal with, and it's so easy to get it moving again. So it's like I think people just deal with it and don't go to the doctor for stuff like that.
100%.
So I think 16% is actually really really low, and I do like the fact that we talked about how it is linked to low fiber intake. You need fiber. Dehydration is a big one because most people probably don't drink enough water in a day
Hmm.
anyway. Even if they're not constipated, they probably don't drink enough water. And processed food get you all the time. So I like the information that was presented. I just think the 16% is low.
Gotcha. And I'll jump back in and say there is a standard definition we tend to use, and it's not a one size fits all. Everybody's different. Some people can have constipation outside of the number that I'm about to say, but for a standard definition, just to make it to where we level set, constipation is usually if you have fewer than 3 bowel movements in a week. Usually 7 days out of a week, fewer than 3 a week, right? 2 a week, usually it's
You should have
constipation.
7 out of 7.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Some people are very much daily. Some people are multiple times a day. Some people are every other day. But if you're every other day, again, with that, you're usually going about 4 times a week. So when you're having less than 3 bowel movements per week, 3 is kind of pushing it. But if you're having 2 bowel movements a week, you are constipated. If you are having difficulty passing stool, you're constipated. If you're having small amounts of stool, but you think
You're
that you're going
constipated.
daily, you're constipated. And we have people who come sit into my office in my exam room, and I'll talk to them about their bowel movements. And they literally are like, well, I didn't realize I was constipated because I would go every day, but it's really a small amount. And I'm like, that's not the point of the, for lack of a better term, frequency for you. It's the volume, if you will. For some people, it is the volume is still rather large, but it's so infrequent that it is constipation. And as we talked about, this is going to be an issue down the road. So to segue to that, patient zero, what are the complications that are very common? And it's not going to be a bunch that we're going to talk about. There are a lot, but what are the common constipation uh, complications if we don't treat constipation in the right way and it basically lingers and becomes a chronic constipation? What would you say are the 1 to 2, maybe 3 big ones that could stand out? And these are ones that a lot of
Um,
people have and they don't know. And I think once we hopefully reveal this, they're going to say, oh, wow, I didn't really think about it in that way. And of course, I'll explain a little bit more from a medical standpoint. But what are the 2 ones that you think can develop with chronic constipation that is not treated properly?
well, I would think number one, impaction. Like you have an impacted bowel,
Hmm.
and like it's gonna take like an act of Congress to get that moving.
Hmm.
Number
And we
one.
already know
Number
that that
two,
takes a long time.
yeah, it takes a long time for anything to go through Congress.
There you go.
It,
There you
but
go.
it, but but yeah, I also irritable bowel syndrome is probably another one.
Okay.
Um, Honestly, and look, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. You're the doctor,
Hmm.
but I'm just thinking if stool is sitting in your colon like longer than it should, it's got to start developing problems. Like one, it's not going to make more stool, I guess, and two,
Hmm.
maybe some of that waste could become cancerous if it sits there too long.
There you go. So that's the first major one, colon cancer. That's the biggest
Oh,
and the most impactful. If you have
I
chronic
should be a doctor.
constipation, it literally can increase your risk of colorectal cancer because, again, you have waste that you're supposed to be getting out of the body and it's sitting in your body for longer periods of time. So it can cause harm. 100%. Colon cancer, what is it? Survey says number one answer, colon cancer. What is it? When they clap, good answer, good answer. That's what we're going to go with for you, my friend.
Good,
So
good.
colon cancer is the first one. All right, we got one more that you did not touch on, and I'm going to give you a hint. It starts with the letter H, as in hotel.
Hemorrhoids.
Hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids is number two. If you don't realize that chronic constipation will cause hemorrhoids and colon cancer, consider yourself informed and consider yourself blessed to know that, because I diagnose and treat people with hemorrhoids all the time. And the first thing I start to ask them is, how often do you go to the bathroom? And most people have a bunch of answers, but none of them are usually regular. It's usually, well, I go every day, but I'm sitting on the toilet for long periods of time. Well, I go every other day, but I got a strain. Well, I go, but it's only a little bit that comes. So it's all these signs of constipation. It's never a one size fits all. And untreated constipation causes hemorrhoids. And for people, really quickly, the crash course, hemorrhoids are basically blood vessels in the rectal area. When you have a bowel movement, you're sitting in a toilet, the way the toilet is made, your pelvic area sinks into the toilet. That's how it's supposed to go. When the pelvic area sinks into the toilet, more blood flows into that area so you can have a bowel movement. The more blood that flows into the area, the more that the intestines contract and all this other good stuff, especially in the rectal area. With that, when that blood pulls into that area and it sits there for long periods of time, it becomes a hemorrhoid. So when you have increased blood circulation in that area for long periods of time that don't get resolved because you had the bowel movement and you get up, you have the bowel movement and you're evacuating the rectal area with the stool coming out of it, you're going to have a hemorrhoid. And there are two types of hemorrhoids, internal and external. And basically, one is really bloody, one is really painful, and sometimes you can have both. So with all of that being said, your constipation is causing you to have this increase in blood flow to this rectal area that causes these extreme blood vessels that rupture and cause pain and cause bleeding, and it can be very problematic. I've been in one exam room with a general surgeon. I was a resident, and as I was a resident, we have to rotate through all these things so we can learn how to basically diagnose and treat a little bit of everything in family medicine. That's why we do the quote unquote general practice, because we saw everything, right? One guy comes to a general surgeon, patient zero, and he has a severe hemorrhoid. I mean, severe, like can't sit down severe. He literally is so uncomfortable that he's basically pacing back and forth because he knows that he needs to have something done about it. So, what do you think that the general surgeon does to this gentleman with his hemorrhoid?
Got me. No clue.
All right. So, that's the thing. Of course, same thing. I was like, oh, this is not going to be fun. He does something called an enucleation of the hemorrhoid. So, basically, he tells the guy to lay on his side. He takes a needle and sticks it in the hemorrhoid to shoot him with basically numbing medicine. When I tell you that is one of the worst screams I ever heard in my life, and when I tell you it was a grown man and you would have swore that he was a little bitty child, it was painful. But after about 5 minutes of the medicine literally sitting in and doing what it's supposed to, he was like, I feel so much better, because he couldn't feel it anymore. And then at that point, the blood vessel is now clotted, right? That's why we are enucleating. We're removing the nucleus. He opens the blood vessel with a scalpel, takes the clot out, and then basically puts a rubber band around it, for like a better term, so it can basically shrivel up and go away. That's all you have to do to fix your hemorrhoids, my friend. I mean, it's just simple, right? Or you can stop being constipated. I say that to hopefully scare the bejesus out of you. And the way you look right now, my friend, is priceless. So if you are not watching us on YouTube, please go back to that story and please look at Patient Zero's face. That story should tell you how much it literally takes to fix this problem, or we can just not be constipated, right? For all you men who are listening, I'm saying this to you from a place of love. You keep sitting on the toilet and being on that cell phone forever. And I'm going to say this. Thank you for the business. I'm just going to say it in advance, because I've already treated enough people to tell them you're sitting on the toilet on the phone for an hour and a half and you wonder why you got a hemorrhoid. That's one of the reasons. You're not supposed to be on the toilet that long. Now, there are other hacks to avoid doing that and still having your piece in the bathroom. If you want to know that, you definitely got to talk to us off the major episode. We'll, do our special episode for that. And that's going to be behind the paywall, Patient Zero. But with that being said, when you have that ability to not have that long standing or long sitting on a toilet, it's going to allow you not to be constipated. So with that, Patient Zero, any thoughts on the hemorrhoid story? Because your face still says it all.
So yeah, I think we're gonna have to do a poo and scroll episode, like for with some tips, because man, that was disturbing.
An S
Like
an S
I
and
just
an S&P episode. Scroll, scroll.
scroll and poo, man, yeah, because that was disturbing.
Hey,
Um,
we give it to you authentically here, and I'm telling you, I'll never forget that. I saw it one time, and I said, you know what? You ain't got to tell me nothing about sitting on the toilet no more. I know exactly what that turns into. So we won't spend too much time on it, but yes, I'm glad that you are slightly
so
traumatized, patient zero. So now you won't have that
slightly,
problem either.
yeah. Nah, I definitely won't. Because you know me, I'd rather get punched in the face than be constipated. So I'm not gonna be constipated. I'll over laxative. I'll go. I'll take some stuff I don't need to take before that happens. Trust
You
me.
go you go
But
OD on the laxative, my
oh,
brother.
dog, I will put Miralax in my coffee. I will drink the magnesium citrate. That's not gonna be me. I'm gonna tell you that now.
I
But
got you.
but I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
They always talked about the the squatting, right? Where, where if you have your legs kind of like over your waist, it aligns, like you said, your
Pelvic.
intestines, your colon, in your pelvic. Yeah, that to where you can actually have more healthy poops, right? More healthy bowel movements,
Mm-hmm.
right? So is it worth getting that little step that you put in front of the toilet, that you put your feet on to kind of raise your legs? Is that something helpful, or is that just a money grab?
It's a money grab. I will say you can do it. Some people need it because of certain circulation issues, but more than likely, the general population doesn't need that. It's just getting on the actual toilet, having a bowel movement, and getting off. The minimum recommendation is no longer than 10 minutes for a bowel movement. If you're on the toilet longer than 10 minutes, usually you need to get up. That's the thing. There's more to it, but I'm simplifying it that if you're on there for 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes, you're on there for an hour, hour and a half, you're going to have problems down the road. And again, may not be in your 30s, may not be in your 40s, may not be in your 50s, but eventually it's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to say, well, I didn't understand. I didn't know. Hopefully you're listening and you're hearing us to say, stop doing it. Okay. So we have been going for a while. We got 2 more that we're going to cover. We were going to do 5, but let's save some time because we want people to, enjoy the second part of our segment. So let's jump to gallbladder disease, my friend. So I'll throw that over to you. What you got on the gallbladder disease?
I'm, I'm traumatized. I can't do this anymore. But uh, gallbladder disease, it affects 10 to 15% of American adults, with women 4 times more than likely than men to develop gallstones. I don't know, but risk increases with age, pregnancy, rapid weight loss, and high fat diets.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 1 in 3 adults over 65 shows evidence of gallstones, even if it's asymptomatic.
Correct.
So, gallbladder disease is a lot more common than I thought.
Yep. And I will also add the favorite that I have, those people who are potentially saying, I want to do the carnivore diet, right? Or the keto diet. Those people who are potentially eating a lot of high fatty foods, you're going to be the ones that have gallbladder disease more than likely, because some gallstones are basically made from, and I'm simplifying it, cholesterol, right? So when you have excess cholesterol, it can develop into gallstones, which can cause gallbladder disease. It also can cause straight up gallbladder disease, not a gallstone, but the disease of the gallbladder itself, gallbladder inflammation. So in medical terms, to give you that over the top information, we don't usually use the word gallbladder disease. We use the term cholecystitis, which is basically a fancy term for your gallbladder having inflammation. And when you have your gallbladder removed, it's called a cholecystectomy. So with that, when we're taking out your gallbladder, cholecystectomy, when you have inflammation, cholecystitis. So again, gallbladder and gallstones are two different things, gallbladder disease and gallstones. So don't think that the only disease of the gallbladder is a gallstone. The gallbladder itself can also get infected, which is a whole nother thing, where you can have a septic gallbladder. So the idea is gallbladder disease is far reaching. It's not just one thing. The main thing for gallbladder disease is you're going to have right upper quadrant pain, meaning the right upper abdominal area is going to be in pain. And then you're going to also have things like bloating and nausea, and also feeling full on the right side under your ribs. So the common thing we are taught in med school, George, this is something a lot of people, as you kind of said, I don't know about the female thing. This is the one where females actually get this more. So it's actually 4 Fs that we're taught in med school. It's basically females who are 40 that are fertile and fat. I don't know who came up with the all four, but basically that's how you would be, you would remember who's more likely to have gallbladder disease. So based on that, if you're in that category, you're more likely to have gallbladder issues, gallstones, and things of that. So a lot of times we'll get patients who come in and they're having all these GI concerns, GI issues, and nausea, and upset stomach, and stomach pain. And basically, it's their gallbladder. The gallbladder is not working. It's causing all these problems. It's malfunctioning. We take the gallbladder out, they feel better. So it really does come down to gallbladders needing to be healthy. And when they're unhealthy, removing them tends to be the best thing. So now, guess what that cost of, what was it, 140 billion? At that 140 billion, that's now gallbladder surgery, right? It's not, we're going to give you gallbladder medicine. It's literally, we're going to surgery. And we're having a cholecystectomy. We're taking the gallbladder out. We're not going to do anything else. So now you have a surgery on your books because you were eating horribly and we didn't take care of your gallbladder. So that's number 3. And I will definitely jump to number 4. This is the favorite that I like to go over because a lot of people don't know this exists, but the majority of people who are listening to this will either have this or know someone who has it. And it's NAFLD. NAFLD. Patient Zero, you want to tell people what NAFLD stands for?
Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is basically saying you don't drink a ton of alcohol, but you have enough of a, for lack of a better term, fatty liver that is causing disease. Your liver has fat in it, which most people wouldn't even know that's a thing, but yes, it is. So this is present in 1 in 4 adults globally, and nearly 40% of all adults with obesity in the US have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Once seen in older adults, it's now being diagnosed in teens and young adults, my friend, due to sugary diets and sedentary lifestyles. So you all who think, hey, I'm just going to get a kid the tablet and let him sit in the house and be on the tablet all day. I'm going to let him play the game all day. This is for you. This is projected to become the leading cause of liver transplants by 2030. Okay? It's just a small surgery, Patient Zero. You don't really need that regular liver. We can get you another one. What do you think about that, my friend?
Well, number one, I don't have to worry about this because if I have fatty liver disease, it's going to be alcoholic. Number 2, you can't just go pick up a liver at Walmart. Like there's not a whole lot of livers floating around. So you might need to go ahead and take care of that because, your life expectancy goes down once you start cutting off portions of the liver and all this good stuff. So I would say that's a huge that's a huge thing to look out for, and that's something that I wasn't really aware of. So if you're listening to this, take a walk. Just take a walk.
More importantly, walk
try.
while you're listening to it.
Yeah. It's on your phone. Like you take us with you. Just go take a walk.
I'm gonna do you one better. If you in the car listening to it, pull over and just start walking. Leave the car there and start walking.
You just walk home.
Walk home at this point. So
walk home.
Let me say 2 more things about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Another thing that people don't understand is that it starts off basically as just you have fat in your liver. You don't really have any symptoms. Eventually, you start having things like fatigue, feeling extremely full, and then the part where we get involved is we start to actually see this on your blood work, where we check your blood and your blood shows inflammation in the actual liver numbers. Your liver numbers are now inflamed. You say, man, I don't even drink alcohol, but I don't understand why my liver numbers are inflamed. So we start to know that you have a fatty liver based off of that, especially if you have no other disease of the liver. You don't have hepatitis. You don't have some other blood-related illness. And then The non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is the mild form, turns into something, and I always mess it up, but it's non-alcoholic steatohepatosis. Steatohepatosis. We could just call it NASH, NASH, like Steve Nash, your boy. So with Steve Nash
I don't like Steve
disease,
Nash.
no, I'm joking. So with NASH, it is basically inflammation of the liver. So we go from fatty liver disease, where it's pretty mild, to now we're having inflammation. And the inflammation eventually turns into, what do you think, patient zero? So we went from fatty liver disease to NASH, which is now liver inflammation. And what do you think happens when the liver stays inflamed for long periods of time? It starts with the letter C.
I'm going to guess cancer.
Close. That's right before cancer is another C. It's something you get when you drink too much alcohol. Cirrhosis.
Something. Oh, so okay.
Cirrhosis. Cirrhosis. So most people think
I
cirrhosis
was
starts
like,
with an S.
intoxicated starts with an I. There's a C in it.
That's a C. Drunk. That's what you should have said. The C is
Yeah, I'm
silent.
about to say.
The C is silent.
The C is silent before the D. Drunk.
It's a French word. So yes, cirrhosis is what I was going with. So again, you're not drinking alcohol. You don't have any, for lack of a better term, bad habits. Your diet is the bad thing. You then develop fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease, it goes to inflammation. Inflammation goes to cirrhosis. And then when cirrhosis is untreated for long periods of time, you eventually get liver cancer or liver failure or both. I've had people with both. I've had people die from liver cancer, unfortunately. But the idea is that your disease started from poor diet. And the poor diet doesn't have to be always fried foods. It can be high sugary foods, extremely sugary, refined carbohydrates, things of that nature. So again, I have patients who come in and what do you think their favorite thing to drink is that's not alcohol?
Coke.
Coca-Cola, full of sugar. And I'm like, okay, keep on.
Yep.
And you'll see, oh, well, I'm not a diabetic. Not yet, but you also can have liver issues from Coca-Cola, even though it's not mixed with the fine beverage of whiskey, which I enjoy. With that being said, my friend, we will close out the beginning of segment 1 with a very small portion. So patient zero, anything you want to tell people that we've covered thus far? We talked about a lot. We've been going for a long time. And the funny thing is, we'll say this real quickly. Like, subscribe, share if you haven't done that already. Follow us, all that good stuff. But a lot of people don't realize when we go to record, we're like, look, this is going to take 5 minutes. And next thing you know, we're looking up, it's like 48 minutes. So we clearly were thinking this is going to be a 20-minute talk and we have another segment. But I'll give it to patient zero. Anything you want to share with the listeners so far that may be helpful for them if they've listened to this point?
I mean, I'm just saying don't be constipated because like this whole needle in the butt thing, you completely threw me off with that. Like that's like I just can't, bro. Like knowing that there's a possibility of that happening, nah, not me, not patient zero. And also, I'd say, man, just cut down on the sugar. You treat yourself to a nice steak. Have yourself some potatoes with it. That way you get a little fiber. You know, just watch your diet and exercise a little bit. That's all.
Yeah. And I will say that again, hopefully you'll see that very small things progress to big things if you don't get them treated, right? Oh, I got a little bit of fatty liver and not a big deal. Okay, well, we're not doing what the doctor has told me because I feel like, you know what, I got other things to do. I got time. I'm going to go work out when it gets, the weather get better. I'm going to go work out when I get more time. I'm going to work out when the kids get older. All these things you keep telling can progress and progress and progress to where you do have things like an enucleation because you have a bad hemorrhoid, or you've progressed to where now you have cirrhosis. You progress to where you have gallbladder disease that now requires a surgery. That's the thing we're hopefully getting to you if you've listened through the first part of the segment. And I also would like to say once again, it's non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. I think I said hepatosis, so I always mess that up. NASH, okay? With that, patient zero, we will go to commercial, and we'll be right back after this. Hello there, it's Dr. Jasper from the Bija Radio Show. Are you tired of the broken healthcare system? Frustrated by long wait times to see your physician, rush visits, and the sky-high healthcare costs that come with those rush visits? Yeah, I hear about it all the time. So if you're tired of dealing with any of those things, then I highly suggest you check out the book Bija Blueprint. an introductory guide to direct primary care for patients, physicians, and businesses. Written by yours truly, it breaks down all you need to know about direct primary care, a model that makes healthcare simple, affordable, and personal again. The book covers topics like how DPC differs from traditional insurance-based healthcare, what's the difference between direct primary care and concierge medicine, how employers can use DPC to cut healthcare costs, how this model reduces burnout for physicians and improves work-life balance, and so much more. Whether you're a patient, a doctor like myself who was fed up and burnt out, or a business owner tired of rising healthcare costs, this book lays it all out in plain English. So if you're ready for something better, check out Buy Blueprint, available in paperback, audio, and ebook format. Visit bookstoread.com/BuyJourBlueprintDPC and get your copy today. All right, we are back from commercial break, and patient zero is still adequately traumatized for the rest of the week. So I have done my job, and I think I've done that for any other listener who wasn't expecting that. You're welcome. We are coming back into segment 2 of this amazing episode, talking about gut health and how GI problems that aren't treated will progress into other issues. So what we're going to talk about now is basically how those issues tend to cause more issues, and then some maybe warning signs you may want to watch out for. So patient zero, let's make it quick because again, we went pretty long on the first segment. What do you think are some warning signs people should look out for when it comes to the disease of gastrointestinal problems? A lot of them are very common. We've heard them. We've talked about them in the first segment, but let's just go over them again. So what symptoms people should look out for different diseases that may just say, hey, this is a gastro problem. You probably need to look into that. Again, not
Okay.
necessarily thinking of a one-time thing here and there, but chronic things. So things that you would say, if this is chronically going on, you probably need to be checked out. What would you say?
Okay. I would say heartburn, especially like persistent heartburn or any type of discomfort in your chest after eating,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a GERD issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unexplained weight loss or loss of appetite,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge one.
Yep.
Blood in the stool, dark stool, tarry stools. Now look, I'll say this. Um, Pepto-Bismol can turn your stool dark. So if you had some stomach issues, you took some Pepto, don't be alarmed. Other than that, you see some dark stool without Pepto, you get scared, right? Call
Yep.
your doctor. Um,
Yep.
Chronic bloating or early fullness when you're
Mm-hmm.
eating, if you just have no appetite or if you were hungry and you just got full really, really quick, that's a problem. Um, Changing bowel habits lasting more than 2 weeks, that's a red flag. And then you got jaundice, fatigue, or new onset diabetes, possible pancreatic involvement. Anything
Yep.
like that is a red flag. So,
So let's
you
let's
call
tell
Dr.
the
Jasper, you hear any of these.
well, I was going to say that's definitely something I would say again, job security over here, because I'm sure that's a lot of this ain't going away no time soon. But let's tell people what jaundice is, if you don't mind. And if you want me to take it, I'll take it. But if you want to give people a high level, they may not know what jaundice is. What is that, patient zero?
I also don't know what jaundice is.
Okay,
So
great.
you got to
So
go ahead
great
and
point.
take this one.
So jaundice is basically yellowing of the skin. So when a person who's had really chronic liver disease and sometimes gastrointestinal disease, their skin starts to basically turn yellow. And it may not be full out yellow like a crayon, but it will be where there's more of a yellow tint to it. For people who have melanin in their skin, this oftentimes gets missed because, of course, we have darker skin. If we have darker skin, you don't see the yellowing of it. So it's hard to diagnose there. So what you tend to see is diagnosing by opening the mouth and looking into the oral cavity and seeing yellowing of the oral mucosa or the oral cavity where the skin that's normally pink is now starting to turn again yellow. And if you do a Google search and look up jaundice, you'll see different variations of it. The other place you'll see jaundice besides the mouth is in the eyes. So the white of the eyes, the sclera, will be yellow. So again, yellowing
Mm.
of the skin, yellowing of the mouth, yellowing of the eyes, that's basically a sign of liver disease. So when people have that, of course, I've had people say, "Oh, my uncle has yellow eyes all the time. He's been having it for years. Ain't no big deal." Okay, so at this point, the yellowing is an issue. Hence, why you always hear us say you need to get your eyes checked. It's not waiting until you can't see. It's getting your eyes looked at for things like jaundice. Also, seeing a dentist for things like jaundice. It's not when my teeth feel fine, I don't have any problems. It's those things that we'll see and catch early, we can now say, hey, you probably need to get some blood work because your liver may not be working. And now we can get that caught and diagnosed early. So jaundice is a huge one that gets missed along with other things, like you said, unexplained weight loss, blood in the stool. People just ignore it and they wait and they wait and wait. I actually had a patient, and I'm pretty sure it was 2025, it might have been late 2024, that came to me after getting diagnosed with colon cancer. He got diagnosed with colon cancer. What do you think? In the emergency room, because he was having abdominal pain and his stomach started hurting so bad he couldn't have a bowel movement. He went in, they scanned him, he had colon cancer. And then he came to see me. We had to refer him to a colon and rectal surgeon. And what do you think they did for the colon cancer? They took out his intestine. So now he has a colostomy bag. He has a colostomy bag because he's getting chemotherapy. And he's getting chemotherapy and radiation to treat his colon cancer. And how old do you think this gentleman is, patient zero?
I'm guessing 35.
No, that would be a really amazing thing. Unfortunate thing as well. Now, this guy's about 55. So he's in his 50s with colon cancer because, of course, he never got a colonoscopy. He literally told me when he came to me for his first visit, I don't like doctors because all they do is try to take your money. I said, that's unfortunate. But at this point, you definitely got to see a lot of doctors. But that's the thought process. No one ever told him, potentially, you need to go see a doctor because he didn't smoke. For the most part, he only drank a little bit. And for the most part, he's a young, healthy guy. He just didn't know anything about constipation being a problem. He didn't know anything about having infrequent stools being a problem. And now he has a colostomy bag. After a colon surgeon, we call it a colectomy, had to cut out his colon. And it's unfortunate. Why? Because of simple stuff like this. Someone would have told him you need to eat more high fiber foods. You need to be active. You need to avoid these high processed foods. You need to get the constipation looked into. We would have had that. And of course, that's the unfortunate part, but he's doing pretty well. And I think he's actually making a recovery. Another fun fact, patient zero, since again, we're already creeping you out, you do know that a colostomy bag sometimes can be reversed, where you go from not having a bag to basically going back to where they connect the rectal area to the intestines. And now you can have regular bowel movements. So colostomy bags are
That's
not always
awesome.
permanent, my friend. So we're hoping he can get that reversal. So just something to
That's
know.
the bright part of this episode.
There you go. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to literally rain on your parade and then make sunshine happen. That's what I'm here for. So if I set the bar really low, it's easier to basically surpass your expectations, my friend. It's the motto of my life. Okay.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
right. All
of
right.
course.
So based off of that, let's jump into just some simple things. Pathophysiology, which I know you love. Where we're talking about how this basically domino effect works. So patient zero,
My
let's give
favorite
the
subject in
people.
school.
Absolutely. Let's give the people an idea of the pathophys of these things that we're talking about. So how do they work?
Cool. So I'm gonna give this a shot. All right. So it starts with chronic irritation,
Correct?
right? Then that goes to tissue damage.
Correct.
Then
And
that
not
goes
tissue
into
damage, inflammation, which then goes to tissue damage. So irritation to inflammation, which then eventually goes to tissue damage. And go
tissue
ahead.
damage. It goes to DNA mutation, not RNA mutation,
Mm-hmm.
but DNA mutation.
Mm-hmm.
And then potential malignancy, which is cancer,
Cancer,
essentially.
right? Right. So
Yeah,
again, the irritation is the beginning. It then eventually goes to inflammation because if you're chronically irritated, inflammation comes in trying to fix the problem, but sometimes it goes and gets unchecked. Eventually, the inflammation
correct.
causes tissue damage. Once the damage is there, if that doesn't get fixed, eventually that damaged tissue just starts to mutate. When it mutates, the mutation basically starts to produce more mutations and mutations on mutations and on mutations, eventually turn into cancer. So that's the idea of getting these things checked and fixed early. The idea that I got acid reflux, so I'm just going to go ahead and deal with it and pop all these Tums. Okay, keep on popping Tums and keep on ignoring when we tell you to stop drinking all the fill in the blank. That's going to happen too. Keep sitting on the sofa and just, my favorite, oh, it's football season. Okay, keep on watching the game and not getting up and moving because at the end of the day, that's going to lead to problems because people feel like watching football all day Sunday and not moving 5 days out of the week, 6 days out of the week, and compounding it with sitting on the sofa on Sunday and Monday and Thursday is a good thing. No, it's not. All right. So
But there's
based off
only
of that,
one game on Monday and Thursday. I mean, you got time.
you got time, right? But I've heard people say, oh no, the games start at this time. I'm going to be watching it all day. And all they're doing is sitting back, doing absolutely nothing and wondering why their health is failing. Okay. So patient zero, I wrote down some diseases that may potentially go from this trajectory of irritation into potentially malignancy. Can you give the people some examples?
Cool. Barrett's esophagus, esophageal cancer, right?
So Barrett's esophagus, untreated, will lead to esophageal cancer. That's one. Let's keep going.
Yep. Ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, colorectal cancer.
Okay. So
You
again,
know,
untreated, right? If it's treated, it doesn't do that. When you're not treated appropriately, it can turn to colon cancer. I have a young lady who has Crohn's disease in my practice, and same thing. She's like, well, my GI doctor is in New Orleans and I can't get there. I'm like, well, we got to find somebody in Baton Rouge because I understand you want to go to the one that you're familiar with, but untreated Crohn's is not what's it's not what's up. We're not going to wait until you get comfortable, get back to New Orleans, and it's 3 or 4 years of untreated Crohn's. That's not a good idea. So we're trying to prevent that. We fortunately got her into a new GI doctor. She's doing much better. Next.
all right. Chronic pancreatitis can lead to pancreatic cancer.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
it's not, it's not hard.
Not a surprise. And very last
Right.
one, which we already talked about.
Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can lead to liver cirrhosis and cancer.
Correct.
And look, can we just put fatty liver disease? Because I'm pretty sure if it was caused by alcoholism, it could still get to cirrhosis and cancer.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
I don't know why it's non-alcoholic, but anyway,
Yeah.
take care of your liver. It could be a problem.
100%. And again, that's why this episode is so important. And I think, we're at a point where, we've been going for a while, but it ties into people that and people you may have seen these stories in. While we may not know all the details, there are young people who are passing away with these diseases. And some of the things that I just told you, the 55-year-old gentleman who has colon cancer in my practice, that's, not something that you want to see at 55, right? You don't want to see it ever, but definitely not at 55. And to my knowledge, we had 2 celebrities that were pretty prominent that unfortunately that passed due to a colon cancer and a pancreatic cancer. So Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, and recently D'Angelo, the singer, the R&B legend, who literally passed away from pancreatic cancer. Like, we don't know all of the story of what happened to them, but we do know that obviously they were on the younger end when it comes to time of life, right? It wasn't like they were in their 80s or 90s. We're talking about 40s and 50s, if I'm not mistaken. Do you happen to know how old Chadwick was or how old D'Angelo was? I cannot recall. We can look it up, of course.
I thought D'Angelo was in his 50s.
Okay.
I'm not 100. Did Chadwick make it to his 40s yet? I mean,
I know he was
I'm
in
not
his
100%
40s.
sure.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he was in his 50s.
Well, I know for a fact D'Angelo was in his 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And which was crazy because Angie Stone died in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
It was just wild to see them pass in the same year after, being parents to a child together. It's unfortunate.
Yep. So D'Angelo was 51 according to my quick internet search. And let's see. Chadwick was 43. So that is why this episode hopefully will hit close to home. You may not be at that age yet because we have some young listeners. You may be past that age.
We close.
Well, I mean, that's why I said. So we're not talking to people as if, oh, this can't happen to you. It can happen to anybody. But let's make sure we're not doing stuff to promote it and accelerate it, right? When it's your time, technically it's your time. And I say technically because that's going to happen to all of us. But we don't want to make it accelerated, right? Let's not speed the process up if we don't have to. And I think that helps out a lot. So the one tip I'm going to give, and then I think we should close out Patient Zero because, again, we've been going pretty long and we can keep talking about this. The one tip that I think a lot of people will know, and I actually wrote about this and it's on our website. We have a blog article about it. I share it with a ton of patients, is basically about a high fiber diet, my friend. A high fiber diet can literally save lives to help prevent a lot of the diseases we're talking about. Because at this point, you're eating the right foods, you're having more frequent bowel movements, you're getting rid of that waste. So you feel better, you lose weight, and more importantly, you're less likely to have irritation, inflammation, mutation, which then turns to cancer. So Patient Zero, you got some numbers in front of you. Any idea what a high fiber diet entails in terms of the amount of fiber a person should consume on a daily basis? Most people have no idea because most people think fiber is just fiber. But yes, we can measure how much fiber you're supposed to intake on a daily basis and which foods have high fiber versus which foods do not. So we don't just say eat more fiber, we mean measurement and eating the right type of fiber and the right types of high fiber foods. So Patient Zero, what you got?
Sure. So a good fiber number is between 25 and 35 grams of fiber per day,
Okay.
right? And I think to your point, we see all these products that's like, because you say, you want to have a regular bowel movement, you know, eat some fiber, right? So you got things like Metamucil on the shelf. You got these Fiber One bars, Fiber One cereal, things of that nature. And you look at the nutrition facts, it only gives you like 4 or 5 grams of sugar. I mean, of fiber, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you still got work to do. You just can't eat that and then eat a bunch of crap for the rest of the day. You have to be, smart about this.
Yeah.
Now, you got to be specific in the type of fiber as well. Insoluble fiber adds bulk. It also improves regularity and prevents constipation. Soluble fiber nourishes healthy gut bacteria and also balances blood sugar, cholesterol, and reduces inflammation. So you need a mixture of both.
Yep. So there are different types of fiber. So there's insoluble versus soluble. And the idea of those fibers have different purposes. And different fibers come from different types of foods. Also, different types of products. You may have a Fiber One bar or some type of product that has more soluble fiber versus you're eating fruits that have insoluble or vice versa. So you want to know the difference. Now, again, are you going to know this just on sheer wake up one day and know this? No, you got to study it and get into the weeds on it. If you don't want to do that, find someone who does, whether it's a dietitian, a nutritionist, or a doctor who really and truthfully says, you know what, we really want to get this right. We want to make sure you're eating the right stuff. We don't want you to just basically go grab something off the shelf and think that it has the right stuff in it. We want you to know. And there's the common things like fiber supplementation, where if you're not going to eat the foods that have fiber in them, you can supplement by adding things with fiber supplementation to your meals, right? Putting in water and drinking it, um, eating gummy bears that have fiber in them. Different things like that can help you. And those different types of fibers, as we just mentioned, soluble versus insoluble, can help when you have products that are one versus the other or both. So those are all important things. And that's the biggest tip I would say for today. That is the cheapest and lowest hanging fruit. And with that, it can literally save lives. I literally tell people all the time, high fiber diets are necessary, and it really and truthfully will help you on the path of health and wellness. And people tend to just say, oh, okay, I'm going to get fiber. And in their mind, they ate one piece of fruit, and that's just going to check the box for the whole day. It's nowhere close. And I've had people literally get the article that I've sent to them on their phone, show up to a visit later and say, I don't understand why I'm not losing any weight. And I'm like, well, how much fiber are you getting? Oh, I don't know. And I say, well, how much fiber is a high fiber diet? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, so you didn't read the stuff I gave to you. Well, I was going to blah, 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 blah. The point is if you have the information and you use it, you'll see a difference. If you just have it and don't use it, don't be surprised when you're in the same place 2, 3, 4 weeks later, 2, 3, 4 months later. So we're at a point where I think more people are going to say, okay, you know what? I get it. I'm trying not to have the irritation, the inflammation, the mutation, and then eventually something that can be malignant. So I'm going to do better about getting up and moving. I'm going to do better about drinking more water and having more fiber. And if we can do that, I think we've done the justice of this episode, Patient Zero. We've gotten people to where they're going to be healthier and happier. And then, of course, they'll be more helpful by helping other people learn this information or share this episode. So Patient Zero, with that, I think we have literally, again, went very long on this episode, but that's what we do because we're amazing. What are your thoughts on today? Anything you want to share with the folks and the people before we close out?
I mean, I'm just saying, take your gut health seriously. Not having an unhealthy gut can cause all kind of problems, as you heard in this episode. So, try to eat a little better. I know you want to enjoy great food and sometimes be a little lazy, but get a little workout in, enjoy some healthy foods and hydrate would be my main takeaway, because some of these consequences are terrible, right? And you never want to take anybody's health condition lightly, anything like that. But I don't want to have to, go in the bathroom in a bag. I don't want to have that type of life. I don't want to have to um, have a needle in a hemorrhoid. Um, I don't want to have to face any type of cancer that I could have prevented.
Hmm.
So take these type of things very, very seriously, because it can happen to you. That, like, we all know people that has happened to, um, and we're made of the same substance. So it can happen to all of us. And as some of these statistics that we often read out, um, most people lead an unhealthy lifestyle. So it can absolutely happen to you. Understand it can happen to you, and move accordingly.
There you go. I agree. And I will also add briefly that this is very easy to do. Nothing that we said was medication based today. There are medications we can use for a lot of the diseases that we covered, but a lot of it doesn't have to have an actual medication. It's just movement, eating the right foods, avoiding the bad foods. Even if you do have a misstep on foods that you enjoy and indulge, that's okay. But in excess is where the problem lies. So if you can do those things in a more balanced fashion, more healthy foods, more water, more activity, you're going to see an improvement. And I think you're going to end up saying, okay, you know what? I actually feel better. Patient Zero hit the nail on the head at the beginning of the episode. When his gut health and his diagnosis was confirmed and his diet changed, he said, I feel better. And I think he's living proof that if his diet goes back to the bad stuff, he feels worse. So if we can do that, and he's telling you, and I'm telling you, and other people are telling you, how about you just listen? I mean, I think that's easy, right? It saves money, saves me time, saves me paperwork, Patient Zero. But I do like job security. So, I mean, they can keep doing it. That's fine too. At least for me anyway. So anything else, Patient Zero, that you want to share with the folks before we close out? If not, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
You can find me at Becknell Media on Instagram. You can find me at George_Becknell on Twitter. I'm going to keep calling it Twitter. And George Becknell on LinkedIn.
All right. And for us, again, Patient Zero doesn't say it, so I'm going to say it for him, even though I know he wants to say it. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, follow, all that good
There you
stuff.
go.
Because at this point, we're giving it away for free. And again, this is not going to always happen. And the people who have been listening and rocking with us, leaving us comments, whenever it's time to get these memberships and these paywalls going, which is coming, because I don't believe in doing stuff for free, especially if I do it really well. With that, when that happens, we're going to go ahead and grandfather a lot of you in because we know that you're rocking with us. Some of the rest of y'all just basically joining in and trying to come along for the ride. You're going to have to run this money. Why? Because we're amazing. We already know we're amazing, right? I think we're still at
Yep.
5 stars, Patient Zero. We haven't been canceled. We're in, the thick of season 4. I mean, what else do they want from us, man? But with that, if you're liking, subscribing, and sharing, you can also find
And watching on YouTube.
Watch it on YouTube. Exactly, right? Eventually that's going to go and that's going to blow and, we're going to, be amazing. So with that, you can find us at Bija Clinic on our website, www.byja.org, on the Bija Charitable Alliance website, our nonprofit to help give care to the underserved, www.byjaca.org. And if you are looking at the end of the year, since I believe we are in the month of November, Patient Zero, and you want to make a donation to help the underserved before your tax season closes out for 2025, let's go ahead and do that. Bija Charitable Alliance, again, nonprofit, so all donations are tax deductible. So please consider giving not only as a one-time donor, but as a monthly donor. It could be as little as $5. That helps the underserved, believe it or not, and it helps get people access to medications, labs, and things of that nature. Outside of that, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook at Bija Clinic, on LinkedIn, Bija Clinic, and then you can also consider picking up the book, Bija Blueprint. It's a book that I wrote that is explaining how direct primary care is awesome. We didn't do a lot on direct primary care today, but it's the model we practice at Bija Clinic. And it's an amazing model, and the book talks more about it. And then, of course, you can like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. With that, we are going to close out this episode. Thank you for listening. Patient Zero thanks you. And again, we'll keep on doing what we're doing as long as you keep listening. Have a good one.